Hello friends, today we are going to see Sonnet number 65 by William Shakespeare. I believe you have subscribed the channel. Let's go to the summary. The first quatrain is talks about the powerful nature of the time, even the things like the brass and the stones that can't resist over the time. As you can see in the English poets, majority of them they are considering the nature as a supreme power that can't be destroyed by anyone. But here, William Shakespeare in Sonnet 65 talks about the time that has more power than nature, and the nature itself is a subject that to decay and change. And he's comparing with these things with the human beings to tell that human beauty is implied to be the far weaker than these things enduring substance. So these stanzas concludes that the nature itself is decaying. Where the human go, the beauty of the human. So next, the second quatrain, which talks about the human beauty, is actually directly arguing the audience, the reader, that he questions to the contemporary readers that they how can the beauty can survive when the time destroying all the things that including the nature. So beauty is described as delicate and easy, defeated by the time is portrayed as a violent attacker overpowering the beauty. So, as you can see, that Shakespeare is here personifying the time and giving the time as whole power, like a villainic power. And you can see the tone as very anxious and pessimistic. In the third quadrant, the tone was shifts gradually, and it talks about the time is compared to this seagull or a battling force that wears everything down, and even the solid structures and the strong defense fall before the time. And the third quadrant is actually describing the powers of the time, and the time is inevitably of decaying the strongly things that emphasized. So the poet feels very despair over this time's unstoppable nature, and you just have to give some solution or you want to against the time as a warrior. So as you can see, you have noticed the first three quatrains is all about talking about the problems of the time, what are the characteristics of the time, the power of the time. So the as you all know, the final couplet, the heroic couplet, which gives the solution for this nature of the time. So, a poet, Shakespeare talks about the sudden shift from the despair to the hope of this occurs in the last couple, though nothing physical can resist the time. The poetry can preserve the beauty. So, as you can see, that a warrior against the time is portrayed as the poem, the poetry, which can preserve the beauty which is destroyed by the time, the beauty which is delicate and easily destroyed, which can be preserved by the time, by the portrait. The poetry is believed as his words will live over time. So art is presented as the means of achieving the immortality. Here the Shakespeare is actually exaggerating and actually giving overpowering to the art, the poetry, which is having more power than time, which can't destroy the beauty that inside the poetry. So in the conclusion, he gives that the artistic power, the power of art that preserves the beauty over the time, which actually exaggerated that the poetry has the power of immortality. So this is the summary of the poem. Let's go to the analysis of the poem, which fetch you more marks and understand the poetry well. So let's start with the tone of the poem. As you can see, the poem was started with a meditative tone that deeply talks about the time and the decay of the nature. and the anxious and pessimistic tone of the poet, that time has the power to destroy the even the strong things that has portrayed in the all over time. And the last couplets, the heroic couplets, which gives hope and affirmation that don't worry buddy, you have poetry to preserve the beauty. So these are the things that have shifted the tone from the first quatrain to the last couplets. Time is personified here. Time is given human power to overstrike and dominate even the stronger elements. Mortality is treated as an active ruling force. Time is also figured out here as a metaphor, that time is metaphorically described as rock, suggesting a violent anger. Duty is imagined as a defendant in a court, as a helpless before time. As I said before, it's like a villainic power given to a time. And time is also here figured out as extended metaphor, that the time is compared to a siege, an army attacking the beauty. Here, the beauty also personified here, that a war between two, a weaker and the stronger. So, the beauty is compared to a flower, and a summer's honey's breath is emphasizing its fragility of the beauty. You have a task to find the simile, alliteration, and imagery in the poem. Let's go to the other figure of speech in the poem. Rhetoric question. The poet is rapidly asking the questions about the beauty's survival. These questions express the anxiety and helplessness and not a search of answer. So it is a rhetoric question. So, and the hyperbole, as you all know, the hyperbole is an exaggeration of something that is normal. So it is an in that even the steel gets decay, and the rock is also getting decay. It's showing the exaggerate the things was exaggerated to show the power of time. And paradox. Paradox is actually a contradictory thing when you start with one thing and end with one thing, starting with very chaos and destructive nature of time, and then calling itself at the end that time's best jewel is beauty. Yet the beauty is called the time's best jewel. So you can see the paradox highlights the time's self-destructive nature. Meta poetry or self-reflective poetry. Implied in the sonnet as a whole, the poem reflects on poetic power to preserve beauty. Shakespeare indirectly asserts that the very sonnet defends time. Sonnet number 65 carries several themes like immortality through poetry, power of love and memory, destructive power of time, transcend of physical beauty. So these all overall things that actually mainly conveying that art as the power that to be preserved, the beauty that is beyond the physical decay. So this domination of themes like the time is absolute power to destroy all the materialistic things, include the human beauty. It shows how the time has the power to destroy the everything, even the human beauty. And the very important theme that we have to talk about in this poem is the conflict between the time and beauty. Because the central idea of the time versus beauty was expressed here. The time is portrayed as all the powerful and destructive. Beauty is presented as fragile and temporary. Time destroys even the strongest substance like brass, stones, earth, and the sea. And beauty, it is weaker than nature and man made materials. Time functions like a violent attacking force. but beauty is defenseless against time's attack. Time gradually wears down and endures everything in existence. Beauty, physical beauty, is destined to fade and decay. Time symbolizes the change, decay, and mortality. Beauty represents the young, perfection, and vitality. Most importantly, nothing in the material world can resist time. But at the same time, beauty can survive only through poetry and art, not physically. Understanding these differences make you to understand the poem well. Sonnet number 64 is written in a Shakespearean form. Like it's a Shakespearean sonnet is usually written in 14 lines and written in an iambic pentameter. The rhyming scheme is A B A B C D C D E F E F G G. So this format is like this. Our first three quatrains is about talking about a problem or incident that happened, and the last couplet which gives the solution for the problem. Quatrain means a stanza consists of four lines, and the couplet means it which is two lines. The couplet is also called as heroic couplet. So this is the structure and form of the poem Sonnet number 65. Literary background of the poem. Shakespeare wrote Sonnet 65 during the late 16th century, a period deeply connected with mortality, the passage of time, and the impermanence of the beauty. This sonnet belongs to the Fairy Young sequence, which consists of 126 sonnets, where the Shakespeare repeatedly explores how the beauty and love can survive decay. The Renaissance believed in the art as the preserver for the human values strongly informs the in this poem. 95% of the people was watching the video and not subscribing it. So please to subscribe the channel. Let's go.